Speed Reading, the No-Nonsense Guide to Read Faster for Life, written by John Vallis, narrated by Kevin L. Knights. Introduction. In this book, you will discover the most important secrets of speed reading. There will be many out there that write huge books about this topic, when there is only so much that can be said about it. As someone who wants to show people quick solutions, I lined up the 50 things you can do and need to remember to read faster. Some people are so fast at reading that they can read large books in just an hour, a few hours, or a 500-page novel in less than a day. The problem is that if you don't know any of these techniques, you are stuck. You will most likely still follow that slow voice in your head and repeat certain words, take longer to process information, and waste more time trying to get through books that you could have finished fast. I assure you that these techniques and skills have been tested and tried. They have been proven to be useful and effective. So don't wait any longer and go to the first tip. Tip 1. No more inner monologue. One of the best ways to get started with speed reading is to stop doing something that is called subvocalization. It's common for a lot of readers to repeat the words in your head. Of course, people do this because that is the speed at which they talk. But if you want to read faster than people talk, this is an obstacle you need to remove. Everyone hears voices inside their heads when they read, and that's okay. It's the way children learn how to read it, by reading out loud or quietly saying them in their heads. So, as a young reader, you already acquired the habit of an inner monologue by following the teacher's instructions. And even though this habit taught you how to read correctly, reading faster requires you to turn that voice off, because it slows you down. The average reading speed, which is talking speed, is about 300 words per minute. Now, if you want to read 500 words or even 1,000 words per minute, that voice needs to shut up. The first step in turning off that inner voice is to realize that you need to turn it off. I just told you this. So you already took the first step. Funny how that works, isn't it? Tell yourself that you don't have to say every word in your head to understand the meaning of the information you are taking in. We read so many things each day without thinking about the words, and that's exactly the habit you need to get into. You have to start automatically processing the information without standing still. An example of how to do this is by listening to music, chewing gum, or doing something else while reading. When you do this, you will still read the words without the inner monologue. Tip 2. Group the words. This is similar to stopping the inner monologue, but now you are taking it one step further. With this method, you train yourself to read multiple words at once, and it's one of the most important aspects of reading faster. It's one of the key elements of speed reading. The inner monologue has trained us to take in only one word at a time. But with the grouping technique, you get yourself past that and practice taking in several words at the same time, something that the human mind is perfectly capable of. Try to read 3 words with one glance. Do that throughout the whole page of your book, and notice how much sooner you reach the bottom of it. And this doesn't take away much of the information you are taking in. You still understand what the text is about, but you are wasting less time on it. Do it again, but this time take a pencil and draw 2 light horizontal lines down your page. This way you will separate the page into 3 different parts. Then take a piece of paper and cover the section underneath the one you are reading. Like a road sign, you glance at an entire paragraph or third of the page, trying to take in the information as fast as possible. Tip 3. No rereading. Rereading the words on a page is forbidden. This is a bad habit a lot of people have developed, and it stops your progress. So, stop rereading the words. When you watch someone read, his or her eyes move around a lot, but they don't flow evenly back and forth as they should. Many people backtrack over words they have already read. They secretly highly value the words that have been written and take them seriously. Well, of course, you should take seriously what you read, but the main message is what matters. The words to get that message across matter less. You probably haven't even noticed that you are doing it, which makes it tricky to stop. One of the easiest ways to break this habit is to use your finger to guide you along. And even though this might appear to be childish, it can definitely help. More about that in one of the later tips. Think about what you read at the end of what you read, not all the time throughout the process. More about that later, too. Are you done with this paragraph? Then move on to the next. Remember it, and don't reread this tip. Tip 4. Peripheral vision. One of the best ways to use something called peripheral vision is to read one line at a time. So not just one chunk of words, but an entire line. This forces you to focus at the center of the line and see the other words on the right and left side from the corner of your vision. If you scan the entire page by only looking at the middle and from the corner of your eyes, seeing the words next to it, you will find out that you understood most or all of what you read, but faster. And this is one of the things that lies at the core of speed reading. The same technique is used in a lot of sports. In basketball, for example, coaches encourage the defenders to use split vision, which basically means that you stare into the distance between the one you are guarding and the ball. This enables you to keep track of both and not lose sight of where the ball is or where the opponent is going. In reading, this means that you focus on the center, but realize what is going on around it. Human eyes can do this, and so can you. Tip 5. Using a timer. Increasing your reading speed can only be accomplished if you pressure yourself to finish the text faster. That's why using a timer, whether digital or not, is essential to your progress. When you use a timer, what you will want to do is improve your speed each time. Setting goals and records lie at the core of your exercises. Here is an exercise you can begin with. 1. Set the timer for 1 minute. When it goes off, write down how many pages you read. 2. Do it again, this time aiming for more pages. See if you improved. 3. Treat yourself if you broke your record. More about that later. Tip 6. Setting a goal. The previous tip is something you can use to set goals, setting timers and increasing your reading speed. Part of setting goals is holding yourself accountable. Give yourself a deadline. Devote a certain number of minutes or hours per day to speed reading, and you will see progress if you stay committed and active. When you set a goal, be specific and positive about it. Tip 7. Read more books. This may seem obvious, but it's very true. Practice makes perfect. If you read more, you will be able to read faster. My brother, for instance, takes a 500-page novel and reads it in a day or two. When I ask him about it, he remembers a lot of details and the basic plot. It's just that he enjoys reading these kinds of books, science fiction and fantasy in his case, so he devours them and finds pleasure in being in his own world this way. The more you read, the better you get at it. It is that simple. And hey, you may start enjoying it more too. Some people read a book per day, and they learn a lot from it. Get into the habit, and you will be able to do that too. Eventually, you'll realize that you spend less time to finish the next book. Tip 8. Use a tracker. And by that, I mean using a piece of paper, a marker, an eraser, or some other small object to indicate where you left off. Using your finger may become annoying, but having an index card below each line or something else that does the job is a great way to make sure that your eyes don't go all over the place. This way you know exactly where you left off, and the words in the lines underneath the one you're at won't confuse you. Tip 9. Expand your vocabulary. Synonyms, thesauruses, and dictionaries are treasures. Treasure them. The more you immediately understand what a word means, the faster you'll grasp the concept of what the author is trying to get across. When I look at people who read a lot, and when I say that, I'm embarrassed to say that I should do it more too, They know a lot more words than I do. It just comes with practice. When you come across a word you don't know, you usually spend too much time pondering its meaning, or you skip it entirely, and then you may miss out on information. So this slows you down tremendously. Improve your vocabulary, and you will automatically accelerate your reading skills as well. The more you know, the less you will have to stand still when you see a word, a sentence, or even a paragraph. Tip 10. Get the main point first. Skim over the text you're going to read and get the main gist of it. Calm down, sit down, and take a little bit of time to read over the main points before you do anything else. Read the table of contents, the subtitles, and flip through the pages. Get an overall feel of what you're going to read, and begin to understand the topics and main message the writer wants to bring across. With that in your head, you will follow the text better. Then read the first paragraph of the main sections of chapters. Read the conclusion of each chapter. Read a little bit in the middle, and you'll get an idea of what it's all about. The last paragraph often summarizes the rest. You will be able to retain information more effectively if you do this, and you'll be done faster because you will tell yourself, when you read something you already know, now they are just repeating themselves, and you will move on. Tip 11. Read in the morning. If you want to read faster by focusing more, early in the morning is usually best. Studies have shown that people, on average, read twice as fast in the morning and have better concentration when they wake up in the morning. Tip 12. Prioritize. When you have multiple books to read, you will want to organize them into 3 different piles: very important, a little important, and not so important. This way, you will take in the most important information, you will improve your reading comprehension, and your mind will be sharp and clear. Then, later, you can think about if you even want to read the least important books. Tip 13. Eat fruit. I took a speed reading course one time, and the man was one of the world's fastest readers. He kept emphasizing to eat fruit. Why? Because it improves your memory, and therefore your ability to retain information fast, and keep it in your brain until you want to forget about it. So there you go, eat fruit. It will make you remember things better. I cannot go into the details of each fruit or the scientific research that goes over all the nutrients in those things, but it makes sense, doesn't it? Tip 14. Ask questions. Form a question. What is the main information in this book? Why are they writing about it? How is it explained? And then don't get stuck in these questions. I personally know people who do, but actively seek answers to those questions. As you search for answers, you are becoming more engaged and you are actively figuring out things and learning, not just reading with the question, let's see what this guy has to say. Instead, really try to comprehend where the author is going with it. It's a basic concept of reality that by asking questions, you can learn more. Tip 15. The environment matters. And by that, I don't mean that we should take care of pollution or oil spills, although that wouldn't be a bad idea either, but that the area where you are reading your book determines how much you can focus on the content. Go somewhere where it is quiet and where you can be alone. Books require people to be alone, especially if you want to read them fast. So having a calm, serene place can make a big difference. Tip 16. Take notes. If you take notes, you'll remember what you read better. Moreover, your notes will summarize the information, and then when you want to review the information, you can just look at your brief notes and remember. You don't have to search or dig into the book to find out what it said again. Of course, this matters more when you're reading nonfiction. I always take notes myself, just to block out all the things that I don't have to read again. This way, the summary is even personalized. Tip 17. Don't multitask. Completely shut off the rest of the world, even in this day of instant text messages, Facebook alerts, and other distractions. Just focus on the book and nothing more. I think that in the 21st century that we live in, it becomes increasingly harder to improve one's attention span. Take the challenge and eliminate distractions. Turn off your phone, the TV, or whatever else you have going on. Tip 18. Be in the right position. In order to make reading faster and easier, you can use a book stand, angling your reading material at 45 degrees, which will increase your speed and decrease eye strain. Your mind and body are usually relaxed in bed, so don't read incredibly difficult material there. Stay alert and sit up. This way, you'll be faster at reading. Tip 19. Use a flexible speed. Adjust the speed according to the materials that you are reading. Some things, like news articles, web pages, and novels, can be read at a much faster pace than legal contracts, equations, or specific instructions in a step-by-step program. You can read poetry or the Bible fast, but you will probably miss out on the hidden meanings and beautiful gems that the wording can convey to you. So don't take this book and think that you have to race through each piece of text. Different documents can require different speeds. Just because you want to think about things longer or the information in them is more or less complicated and precise. Tip 20. Turn up the light. Reading is seeing. If the lights are dimmed, the strain on your eyes will be greater, and it may take you longer to read through the text. Additionally, consider sitting near a window, since sunlight is a lot brighter and better for your eyes than artificial light. Light from a computer, however, is not always better if it's brighter. Tip 21. Hand pacing techniques. As discussed briefly earlier, pinpointing where you are at is essential to your training. Going over the text faster is part of it. Here are some more clarifications about this technique. Evelyn Wood came up with this method. It involves sliding your finger across the page below the sentence you are reading. Pacing is the quickest way to speed read. Sit in a 45-degree angle and be comfortable. You can put your elbow on the table. Use one hand to hold the book or magazine and the other to point, index finger. Put your pointing finger at the first word, then pace yourself by moving along the lines. Your eyes will focus where your finger is pointing. Keep moving the pointing finger as you read. When you are finished, go to the next line. Your finger determines your speed. Adjust your speed according to your comprehension. Don't worry about missing some words. It's all about keeping the pace up and getting a general understanding of the text. Tell your brain to go faster each time. Let your thoughts flow. Don't be stiff. Slow down when the material is more difficult or complex. Start again when you realize you have stopped pacing. This technique will improve your attention, reduce regression, teach your mind to focus without being distracted, and save time and energy. Your eye movements can increase in pace, which is the whole point of this exercise. Humans have the tendency to see moving objects, and this skill can help us to learn to read faster. Whether you think you are fast, passive, or slow, pinpointing where you are at will allow your eyes to move smoothly and train your eye coordination and brains to catch up. Tip 22. Advanced techniques. To use the pacing technique, you can also do the following. 1. Use a card instead of a pointing finger. 2. Hop. This technique means you hop with 4 fingers from 4 words at a time to the next 4 words. 3. You can zigzag by going diagonally instead of horizontally, which is like scanning a bigger area. It's something you shouldn't do in the beginning, but you can definitely try it once you get faster at it. 4. Sweep from left to right with a cupped hand as if you are brushing off the dust from a page. Again, this is something you should do once you get fast enough. Tip 23. Intuitive learning. Use your intuition. You may be familiar with the material, you can see what it's about at a first glance, and even though these are all logical techniques, using your feeling to understand it more can help. Humans are driven by emotion. The more you can attach an emotion, an image in your mind, or a feeling to the text, the more you will be into it and understand it better because you will be more engaged with the content. Tip 24. Strategies. Reading faster has to get done with the help of scanning and previewing strategies. They can enhance your skill of getting the main gist of what you are reading. It will help you to scan numbers, trigger words, and names. Expert speed readers can skim and understand an entire page within a few seconds. When you use these techniques, make use of lists, graphs, points, indexes, and subheadings. Tip 25. Scanning. Scanning is done by triggering the precise, most important information and elements, like numbers, names, and particular facts. It means you move your eyes faster down the page and identify key words and sentences to find the answer to a question or grasp the main idea of the text. With this technique, you can easily determine whether or not a text will answer your questions. It can take about 5 to 10 minutes to do this, depending on how long the text is. Tip 26. Skimming. Skimming is slightly different than scanning. It works best with nonfiction texts. You don't read anything, but you only read what you think matters to what you want to know. You might stop at some interesting facts, bullet points, or just go on to skip a lot of text. It's like browsing a travel book or moving your finger over the map. You see images, read selected snippets of information, or determine which landmarks or highlights are significant. It's the main way to discover the bigger picture. Your brain will be able to comprehend and remember everything a lot faster. Tip 27. Say it out loud. No, don't say every word out loud, but the summary. After you read a certain text, just tell yourself, okay, so basically what he/she is saying is... This will help you retain the most important information and forget the rest. Sure, others may think you are weird as you keep talking to yourself, but they might already think that anyway. Tip 28. Consider reading glasses. You might think your sight is good enough, like I did, but when I put on some reading glasses, everything became so much sharper. Sure, I hate them and I don't wear them during the day, but to prevent those terrible headaches in my eye sockets, I wear them now whenever I watch TV, work on the laptop, and even sometimes when I read a physical book. Try them out, get your eyes checked, and you will be reading so much faster just because everything is less blurry. Tip 29. Get a speed reading course. Here are some courses and software you may want to check out. Iris Reading, Rev It Up Reading, 7-Speed Reading, Super Learner 2. Sometimes there are live classes in your area too. You can attend them and enroll in a program and find a way to communicate with the group and learn how to speed read. You'll have personal guidance this way, and they will show you how to overcome bad habits. Through these courses and software, you can monitor your progress. Tip 30. Read on paper. Even though a lot of barriers to reading on screens are in people's heads, i.e., they make up the difference in results, other studies have shown that reading on a screen causes a little more strain on the eyes and results in a 10% slower reading process. So reading on paper is usually a little faster for the average person. Tip 31. Reverse bad reading habits. I mentioned the subvocalization and regression, rereading methods, which are obstacles in your way to read faster. Other bad habits, like getting distracted, moving your eyes in the wrong direction, and a lack of practice taking in information fast, are things you need to overcome. All these things take practice, so just practice a lot. Don't get frustrated, and you'll be able to overcome all these things. Tip 32. Relaxing and training eye muscles. Just like physically training your biceps or your legs, training your eye muscles takes practice and skill. The eyes need to be in a good condition, and just like other muscles, frequently using them can enhance their capacity. However, they can get exhausted fast too, which makes reading more difficult. Give your eyes some rest between reading sessions. They need it. Don't strain the muscles so much that you will get headaches. Over time, you will get faster. Tip 33. Covering words. As I mentioned, some people hold a piece of paper underneath the line they are reading to indicate where they are. Others, however, and this is a technique you can use too, cover the words they have already read. When your eyes move over words you've already read, these are usually short movements. Sometimes going back to the same words means that you didn't understand what you read, so perhaps that is a sign for you to slow down a little. But yes, especially in the beginning when you are trying to break the regression habit, it can be helpful to cover the words you already read. Tip 34. Understanding eye movements. Your eyes move in a jerky manner when you read. That's just how it always goes. They stop at some words and skip others. You can only read when your eyes are stopping, so if you learn to make fewer eye movements with each line, you will read faster. There is a limit to it, but I am sure there is room for improvement. Here are some things to consider. You roughly notice 9 to 15 spaces to the right, but you cannot read them clearly. You can read 8 letters to the right of the position of your eyes, but only 4 to the left. Weird, isn't it? This is about 2 or 3 words at the same time. The average reader doesn't process words on more than one line. It would be very difficult to skip lines and still understand them. Tip 35. Make fewer eye movements. So now that you understand to make fewer eye movements, I will give you a suggestion of how to do it. Your brain usually decides where your eyes move, based on how familiar or long the next word looks. If you train your eyes to read specific places of the page, instead of looking at every word, you will be able to read faster. Here is an interesting exercise that will help you. Put an index card over the line of a text. Write an X on it, above the first word. Write another X on the same line. Place it 3 words further to understand it better, 5 words for easy texts, or 7 words if you want to just get the main point. Write more X's at the same spacing until you get to the end of the line. Read fast while you move the index card downwards and just focus your eyes below every X. Tip 36. An incomprehensible pace. There are many speed reading gurus out there who claim that you should set a pace faster than you can understand. This way you will train your brain reflexes and eye movements first, before you can actually follow what you are reading. Opinions about this method vary, but it can definitely increase the speed you move through the text, whether you understand it or not. After a while, your eyes will be moving faster, and you'll be able to understand more. Basically, this method means you take a pencil, a pen, or your finger and move through the text really fast. Do that for a few pages and try to read as much as possible. Rest for a few minutes, and then do it again, this time slightly faster. If you gradually build it up and do your best to follow along with the context of the text, you will, hopefully, understand more after a while. Tip 37. Interesting topics. Begin by choosing topics or stories you are interested in. This way you will be able to comprehend more, follow along, and be more engaged with the content you are reading. If you are interested in what it says, you will think about it more, and you will be better able to stay focused. Tip 38. Use your foreknowledge. The previous tip brings me to another tip. Don't read what you already know. Why waste your time on information you have already acquired when you can learn new things? You are reading because you want to know more, not because you want to stare at the letters on a page or have all your facts confirmed all the time. So if you are an expert on trading stocks and you begin to read a text about trading stocks for beginners, you know you can read it faster by skipping maybe 75% of the text, since you already know all that stuff. Reading is taking in information. You don't need information your brain has already stored. Tip 39. Summarize inside. Every time you read, summarize what they say in your head. Fancy and many words can often easily be reduced to a simple statement or idea. Perhaps this will even require you to stop once in a while and summarize it out loud, like I pointed out earlier. Tip 40. Understanding fluff. Understand what fluff is. A lot of things people say in books or texts are fluff. So what does that mean? It means it's just a bunch of blah 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 they are thinking about, or unrelated or unimportant details they added. And these things will not help you to get to the main point, or take in the most essential information. So delete it from your brain, like all those negative comments on your YouTube channels, or political fanatics on your Facebook page. Ignore, ignore, ignore. Tip 41, reward yourself. Reward yourself for accomplishments. This is the best way to stay on track and to keep practicing. It could be a treat, a date, a product you always wanted, or something inexpensive like a night off or a favorite TV show or video game you wanted to play but didn't take the time for. Even just patting yourself on the back will be helpful, or telling yourself in the mirror how much faster you can read to motivate yourself. Tip 42. Titles and section headings. This is obvious. You should always pay a lot of attention to titles and section headings. They basically tell you what the text will be about. Sometimes the heading or title is just a summary of what they are going to blab about, so you won't even have to read on if you already know a lot about it. Tip 43. Beginnings and endings. I already emphasized this briefly in one of my other tips, but I wanted to point it out once more and expand on this. The end lines or paragraphs of a section often summarize what they just said. The beginning introduces what they are going to say. So if nothing else, just read the first and last line of a paragraph, the first and last paragraph of a chapter, etc. You will get a pretty good idea of everything that is in between them. Tip 44. Circling words. You can circle words to get the main idea from it. Brush your eyes rapidly across the page and pick out words that indicate essential ideas. Circle words like italics or bold text, words you don't recognize, the main ideas including the title or header, words that repeat it a lot, and not and or the, of course, but nouns and verbs that relate to the topic. This way you draw your attention to the most important words, and the key elements in the text will pop out and trigger annotations in your brain without having to read all the fluff around it. Tip 45. Pictures and diagrams. Take a good look at the stats, diagrams, pictures, etc. A picture sometimes really is 1,000 words. The images they use in books often literally illustrate what they are trying to describe. At first glance, you may be able to determine what the text is about without reading a single word. Take a minute or two to fully understand every diagram. This will serve you better than endlessly reading about it and trying to visualize it. Tip 46. The book cover. Just like pictures indicate what a text is about, the book cover can tell you exactly what the content will be. I know we shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but hey, everyone does it. And most publishers nowadays know that the cover needs to create expectations for its readers. Covers make the book sell, but they also indicate what something is about. The picture on a book is often a summary of the whole book. You can immediately get a suggestion by looking at the image, and you will have a judgment ready before you know it. And even though you may be slightly off, most publishers know about this and make sure their cover images are top-notch. Tip 47. Using your annotations. Go over the words you have circled. Can you read these words without seeing the entire sentence and know what the text is about? Remind yourself on the topic and see the words connect with all the knowledge you already have about the topic. It's like a big web of lines connected to each other, kind of what you do when you are mind mapping or brainstorming. If you already know something about it, then you can relate to it without having to reread over and over again what you already know. If it reminds you of something, use that to remember something you read. I told one university student once that no matter how naughty or somewhat inappropriate, one of the best ways to remember something is to tie it to something sexually appealing. She didn't have to say out loud what it reminded her of, but she definitely got an A for that test. Because secretly the mind's pleasure center was triggered, and it was easier to remember a word, a phrase, or an answer. You could probably do the same with food or something else you're secretly craving. Tip 48, let it sink in. Take a deep breath and a few seconds to let all the information sink in, or it will be too overwhelming. I know this almost contradicts everything else I am saying, but it's about understanding the information more than it is important to read every word. Words are just means to get the message across. Understand the message, and it doesn't matter how it's being said. I have read books with so much detailed, complicated information that I just had to connect the dots by lying down on my back and thinking about it. Some texts require you to do that, so don't feel like you aren't fast enough if you have to do that. Remember, it's about understanding the information in it, not just about speed records or finishing the book. Tip 49, flip or scroll faster. Become faster at flipping pages or scrolling on your tablet. What else can I say about this? Practice makes perfect. If you can flip or scroll faster, you will be able to go through the information faster as well. Just think about all the seconds that add up and are wasted on flipping through pages of a physical book or scrolling through pages on a tablet. In a book, too, some people take about 3 seconds to flip a page. You have to practice the speed at which you want to do that. Tip 50, be in a hurry. Be the bunny from Zootopia. Your time is precious. You don't have the time to read every single word and think about it. You have to get that information fast and to be able to apply it in your life, or to enjoy a book like you would enjoy a 90-minute movie, not waste an entire day on a story you could summarize in 10 sentences. Value your time. It's worth it. Become better and faster at reading, and you will be like an information machine, with a brain wired to process impulses and data faster and faster. I mean, think about it. How many people aren't stuck on a page, a word, or some thought? If you want to daydream, there is always room for that. When reading a fiction book, sure, you can fantasize as much as you want about Garroth defeating the Orc King, or Harry Potter waving his magic wand. Personally, I'd rather watch the movies, but that's just me. But if you're trying to get information into your mind, you don't have time. It's as simple as that. Time is money, and you have better things to do than pondering some information from a book. Get it fast, and try to understand it sooner than later. That was my final tip. Thanks again for buying my book. If you have a minute, please leave a review